Summary of Stardust by Neil Gaiman. Read to you at Book Nook. The story begins in the small, quiet English village of Wall, named after the ancient stone wall that separates the mundane world from the magical realm beyond it. The wall has a single break, guarded day and night by townspeople to prevent anyone from crossing into the enchanted land. Every 9 years, a market is held on the other side of the wall, attracting magical and non-magical folk alike. The townspeople of Wall, including young Tristram Thorn, lead uneventful lives, mostly untouched by the magic that lies just beyond their reach. Tristram is a dreamy and somewhat awkward young man, often daydreaming about adventures and romance. He is infatuated with Victoria Forrester, the most beautiful girl in the village, though she barely seems to notice him. One evening, as Tristram walks Victoria home, he gathers the courage to confess his love for her. She is amused but dismissive, seeing Tristram as nothing more than an idealistic boy. However, when a shooting star streaks across the sky and lands beyond the wall, Tristram impulsively promises to retrieve it for Victoria to prove his love. Taken by surprise, Victoria agrees, perhaps not believing he is serious. Tristram, determined to fulfill his promise, seeks the help of his father, Dunstan Thorn, who reveals a startling truth. Years ago, at the market beyond the wall, Dunstan had a brief romantic encounter with a mysterious woman who gave him a glass snowdrop as payment for a favor. 9 months later, a basket containing baby Tristram was delivered to Dunstan, along with a note explaining that Tristram was his son. Dunstan had raised Tristram with love but had never revealed his unusual origins. Now, seeing Tristram's determination, Dunstan reluctantly gives him the snowdrop and allows him to pass through the guarded gap in the wall, with the understanding that his journey may be perilous. Tristram steps into the magical land, a world unlike anything he has ever known. The landscape is vibrant and otherworldly, teeming with creatures, both wondrous and dangerous. Early in his journey, Tristram encounters a mischievous and enigmatic tree spirit, who warns him about the dangers that lie ahead and cryptically advises him to seek help when needed. Armed with the snowdrop, Tristram ventures further into the unknown, determined to find the fallen star. Meanwhile, in another part of the magical land, the consequences of the fallen star's descent become clear. The star is not just a celestial object but has taken the form of a living, luminous woman named Yvain. Injured from her fall, Yvain finds herself in an unfamiliar and threatening land. Her leg is broken, and she is disoriented, but she retains her celestial radiance and a sharp, sarcastic wit. She is unaware that she is being hunted by multiple parties who seek her for their own purposes. The first group seeking Yvain is a trio of ancient and powerful witches known as the Lilim. They use divination to locate the star and seek to capture her because consuming her heart will restore their youth and magical powers. The eldest witch, using the last remnants of her strength, disguises herself as a younger woman and sets out to capture Yvain. She uses cunning and dark magic to track the star's movements, leaving a trail of destruction in her wake. The second group is the sons of the deceased Lord of Stormhold, who are embroiled in a deadly competition to claim their father's throne. The Lord's magical ruby, a symbol of succession, was carried by the star when she fell. The remaining sons, Primus and Septimus, are desperate to retrieve the ruby and secure their claim to the throne. They ruthlessly eliminate anyone who stands in their way, employing cunning, violence, and magic to achieve their goal. Tristram, unaware of the star's true nature or the dangers surrounding her, continues his journey through the magical land. He encounters a variety of strange and mystical beings, including a talking bird that provides cryptic advice, a unicorn that briefly aids him, and a merchant who trades in curious magical items. Each encounter brings Tristram closer to the star but also tests his courage and resourcefulness. Along the way, he begins to realize that the world beyond the wall is far more complex and perilous than he had imagined. After several days of travel, Tristram finally locates the star, Yvain, who is less than pleased to see him. She is furious and defiant, refusing to accompany him back to Wall. Tristram, astonished to find that the star is a living being, is initially at a loss for how to proceed. However, he insists on keeping his promise to Victoria and attempts to persuade Yvain to come with him. Their initial interactions are tense and filled with misunderstandings, as Tristram's naive determination clashes with Yvain's sharp tongue and independent spirit. As Tristram and Yvain begin their journey back to Wall, they face numerous challenges. The witches and the Stormhold heirs are hot on their trail, each group using magical means to track the star. Tristram and Yvain narrowly escape several dangerous encounters, relying on Tristram's growing resourcefulness and a bit of luck. Yvain, though still injured, begins to grudgingly respect Tristram's determination, while Tristram starts to see Yvain as more than just a prize to win Victoria's favor. During their travels, Tristram and Yvain are aided by a mysterious figure known as the captain of the skyship. The captain and his crew, who sail a flying ship powered by lightning, offer Tristram and Yvain temporary refuge from their pursuers. The captain, a flamboyant and eccentric character, provides Tristram with valuable advice and a glimpse into the larger, magical world he has entered. Yvain, meanwhile, begins to heal from her injuries, her celestial nature gradually restoring her strength. The bond between Tristram and Yvain grows as they face trials together, though they remain wary of the dangers that surround them. Tristram starts to question his feelings for Victoria and his motivations for retrieving the star, while Yvain contemplates her own predicament and the choices that lie ahead. Their journey is far from over, and the challenges they face only deepen their connection and prepare them for the trials to come. Tristram and Yvain continue their perilous journey through the magical land, still pursued by the Lilim and the remaining heirs of Stormhold. Their relationship remains strained, as Yvain resents being taken from her home in the sky and is frustrated with Tristram's naivety and persistence in delivering her to Victoria. Tristram, on the other hand, is determined to complete his promise, though he begins to notice changes within himself as he confronts the challenges of the magical world. As they travel, the dangers intensify. The eldest witch of the Lilim continues her relentless pursuit of Yvain, using powerful dark magic to track their movements. She leaves behind a trail of destruction, using her illusions and spells to manipulate and eliminate obstacles in her path. Tristram and Yvain, unaware of how close their enemies are, rely on luck and the occasional intervention of mysterious allies to evade capture. During one encounter, Tristram and Yvain are ambushed by a group of goblins working under the influence of the Lilim. The goblins attempt to capture Yvain, but Tristram, using his growing ingenuity and the magical snowdrop given to him by his father, manages to create a diversion and secure their escape. Though Yvain initially criticizes Tristram for his recklessness, she begins to see that he is more resourceful than she had given him credit for. Their journey takes them through a variety of magical landscapes, including a forest filled with sentient trees that whisper warnings about the dangers ahead, a river with waters that reflect not the surface but the deepest truths of one's heart, and a vast desert that tests their endurance and willpower. Each setting presents its own challenges, forcing Tristram and Yvain to rely on one another despite their differences. These trials begin to foster a deeper connection between them, though neither fully acknowledges it at this stage. Meanwhile, the political intrigue surrounding the throne of Stormhold intensifies. The ruby that Yvain unknowingly carries continues to be the focal point of the battle for succession. Septimus, the most ruthless and cunning of the remaining heirs, employs a combination of strategy and magic to track the ruby's whereabouts. He methodically eliminates those he perceives as obstacles, including his own allies, and inches closer to discovering the whereabouts of Tristram and Yvain. His cold, calculating nature and willingness to use any means necessary make him a formidable adversary. Primus, the more honorable of the brothers, also seeks the ruby but is motivated by a desire to bring stability to Stormhold. While he is less ruthless than Septimus, he is equally determined and employs a network of loyal agents to gather information. His path eventually crosses with Tristram and Yvain, leading to a tense yet pivotal encounter. Primus, recognizing the ruby in Yvain's possession, attempts to persuade them to come with him, offering protection and assurances of safety. However, Tristram, mistrustful of Primus's intentions, refuses, and the group parts ways under uneasy circumstances. As the Lilim close in, the eldest witch devises a trap to capture Yvain. Disguising herself as a kindly old woman, she sets up an enchanted inn on a desolate road, luring weary travelers with the promise of food and shelter. Tristram and Yvain, exhausted and unaware of the danger, stumble upon the inn and accept the witch's hospitality. The inn is filled with subtle magical traps, designed to weaken Yvain and prevent her from escaping. The witch uses a combination of charm and manipulation to gain their trust, all the while preparing to claim Yvain's heart. As night falls, Yvain begins to sense the danger, her celestial instincts warning her of the witch's intentions. She attempts to alert Tristram, but he is slow to grasp the severity of the situation. Just as the witch moves to strike, Tristram uses the last of the magical snowdrop's power to create a protective barrier, buying them precious moments to escape. The confrontation leaves Yvain shaken, as she realizes just how vulnerable she is in the mortal world. Tristram, too, begins to understand the weight of the dangers they face and the depth of his responsibility in protecting Yvain. The aftermath of the encounter at the inn marks a turning point in their relationship. Yvain begins to see Tristram not as a naive and impulsive boy but as someone who is capable of courage and selflessness. Tristram, in turn, starts to question the true purpose of his journey and his feelings for Victoria. He finds himself drawn to Yvain's strength and resilience, though he struggles to reconcile these emotions with his original quest. The journey also reveals more about Yvain's celestial nature. Her radiance, which she struggles to contain, becomes both a source of danger and a tool for survival. On one occasion, when they are cornered by a band of brigands, Yvain uses her light to blind and disorient their attackers, allowing them to escape. However, the act leaves her weakened and vulnerable, forcing Tristram to care for her as they recover. This experience deepens their bond, as they come to rely on each other in ways neither had anticipated. The magical land continues to test them with its unpredictability. They encounter a seer who offers cryptic advice, warning them of a betrayal that will test their resolve. This prophecy lingers in their minds, creating tension and uncertainty as they proceed. They also cross paths with a community of magical beings who provide temporary refuge and share stories of the land's history and the importance of the fallen stars. These moments of respite offer glimpses into the broader magical world and its intricacies, enriching their journey and shaping their understanding of their place within it. As the story progresses, the threads of the various pursuits converge. The Lilim, now more desperate than ever, employ increasingly brutal tactics to capture Yvain. The eldest witch sacrifices much of her remaining strength to summon a powerful storm, hoping to flush out her prey. The storm wreaks havoc across the land, disrupting the lives of its inhabitants and creating chaos. Tristram and Yvain, caught in the storm's path, are forced to take refuge in a hidden cave, where they confront their fears and insecurities. During this time, Yvain reveals more about her celestial origins and the sorrow she feels at being torn from her home. Tristram listens with empathy, beginning to understand the depth of her loss and the magnitude of her sacrifice. In turn, he shares his doubts and fears about his own journey and the expectations placed upon him. This exchange marks a significant shift in their relationship, as they begin to see each other as equals rather than adversaries. The storm also brings Septimus and Primus closer to their goal. Septimus, using a combination of cunning and magic, deduces the location of the ruby and sets a trap to eliminate his brother. In a dramatic confrontation, Septimus murders Primus, solidifying his position as the sole contender for the throne. The act is brutal and calculated, showcasing Septimus's unrelenting ambition and willingness to sacrifice anything for power. Tristram and Yvain face their most dangerous challenge yet. The eldest witch, having regained her strength through dark rituals, launches a direct attack on the pair. Using her magic to manipulate the environment, she corners them in a desolate and isolated part of the land. The confrontation is intense, with the witch using every tool at her disposal to claim Yvain's heart. Tristram, drawing upon the lessons of his journey and the strength of his bond with Yvain, fights back with a determination that surprises even himself. Tristram and Yvain recover from their harrowing escape from the Lilim, their bond now stronger than ever. However, the danger they face continues to escalate as their enemies close in on them. Yvain remains weak from her injuries, and Tristram is left to shoulder the burden of their survival. They press on through the magical land, which grows darker and more treacherous with each passing day, the looming threat of the Lilim and Septimus casting a shadow over their journey. Their travels take them through a dense, foreboding forest that seems alive with malevolent intent. The trees whisper threats and taunts, testing their resolve. Yvain, her celestial nature providing an inner light, manages to keep the darkness at bay, but her weakened state leaves her vulnerable. Tristram, drawing on the skills he has learned throughout their journey, forages for food and uses the knowledge he has gained to navigate the labyrinthine woods. Their companionship deepens as they share quiet moments, reflecting on the twists of fate that have brought them together. Meanwhile, the eldest witch of the Lilim continues her relentless pursuit of Yvain. Using her dark magic, she calls upon ancient forces to aid her, weaving a spell to trap the star and her protector. Her two sisters, though physically absent, appear to her in visions, urging her to succeed and restore their collective power. The eldest witch sacrifices more of her vitality, her appearance becoming increasingly haggard and monstrous as she channels her energy into her quest. She sets her sights on the forest where Tristram and Yvain are hiding, determined to bring their journey to an end. At the same time, Septimus, the last surviving heir of Stormhold, closes in on Tristram and Yvain, drawn by the ruby's powerful magic. His cunning and ruthlessness have left a trail of bloodshed in his wake, and he is now more determined than ever to claim the throne. Guided by magical artifacts and his own instincts, he tracks their movements with precision. His interactions with others reveal his growing paranoia and desperation, as he knows the stakes have never been higher. As Tristram and Yvain emerge from the forest, they find themselves in a vast, desolate plain under a sky heavy with storm clouds. The open landscape leaves them exposed, and they must move quickly to avoid detection. Along the way, they encounter a caravan of traveling merchants who offer them temporary refuge. The merchants, a diverse group of magical beings, provide food and shelter in exchange for tales of their journey. Through these exchanges, Tristram and Yvain learn more about the history of the magical land and the significance of the fallen stars. The peace of the caravan is shattered when the eldest witch attacks, using her magic to summon a storm that tears through the plain. Tristram and Yvain are forced to flee once again, narrowly escaping the destruction. The storm marks a turning point for Tristram, who realizes that he must confront the threats against them head-on if they are to survive. He resolves to face the witch and Septimus, knowing that their pursuit will not end until the ruby is claimed and Yvain is safe. The climax of their journey begins in an ancient, crumbling castle that sits on the border between the magical land and the human world. The castle, steeped in old magic, becomes the stage for the final confrontation. Tristram and Yvain seek shelter within its walls, but they soon discover that both Septimus and the eldest witch have followed them there. The castle's enchanted nature reacts to their presence, creating a labyrinth of shifting corridors and hidden chambers that tests their courage and wits. Septimus arrives first, his obsession with the ruby driving him to confront Tristram directly. The two engage in a tense and brutal battle, with Tristram using his newfound skills and resourcefulness to hold his own against the seasoned warrior. Yvain, though still weakened, uses her celestial light to distract and disorient Septimus, giving Tristram the upper hand. In a desperate move, Septimus attempts to seize the ruby, but the castle's magic intervenes, ensnaring him in a trap that ultimately leads to his demise. With Septimus defeated, the eldest witch makes her move. She confronts Tristram and Yvain in the castle's great hall, her appearance now twisted and grotesque from the toll of her magic. She offers Tristram a deal, promising to spare his life if he surrenders Yvain to her. Tristram, realizing the depth of his feelings for Yvain, refuses. The witch unleashes her full power, summoning dark forces to overwhelm them. The battle is intense and harrowing, with the witch's magic threatening to consume them both. In the final moments, Yvain steps forward, her celestial light blazing with a brilliance that fills the castle. Drawing on the last reserves of her strength, she confronts the witch, her radiance overpowering the darkness. The witch, unable to withstand the light, is destroyed in a blinding explosion of energy. The castle, its magic spent, begins to collapse around them. Tristram and Yvain manage to escape, their bond now unbreakable. The story concludes with Tristram and Yvain returning to Wall, their journey having transformed them both. Tristram, no longer the naive boy who set out to win Victoria's favor, has grown into a courageous and compassionate man. He realizes that his love for Victoria was a fleeting infatuation and that his true feelings lie with Yvain. Victoria, seeing the change in Tristram, releases him from his promise, allowing him to choose his own path. Yvain, now fully healed and radiant, decides to remain in the human world with Tristram, despite the pain of being separated from her celestial home. Together, they build a life filled with love and adventure, bridging the gap between the magical and the mundane. The ruby, its purpose fulfilled, becomes a symbol of their journey and the trials they overcame. The magical land, though still filled with wonder and danger, recedes into the background, its mysteries a reminder of the extraordinary journey that brought them together. In the end, Tristram learns that the throne of Stormhold is destined for him. The magical ruby, which Yvain has carried throughout their journey, is revealed to be the key to the succession. As the only surviving heir of the royal bloodline through his mother, who was the daughter of the Lord of Stormhold, Tristram is the rightful ruler. Tristram initially hesitates to accept the responsibility, as he has grown to love the simplicity of life with Yvain and the peace they have found together. However, with Yvain's encouragement, he steps into his role as ruler of Stormhold, bringing justice and wisdom to the magical realm. Together, Tristram and Yvain reign, bridging the worlds of magic and humanity with compassion and strength, until they are ready to move on to their next great adventure, leaving the throne to a worthy successor. I hope you have enjoyed this summary. If you like this summary, please subscribe so I can keep uploading even more books. Also, giving me a like helps a lot. Finally, if you would like me to summarize any specific book, please write it in the comments.